landscapes help define who we are and who we'd like to be.
There were passionate statements about how humanity could be redeemed through the encounter with nature.
Paradise on Earth, on Civilizations.
Tonight at 7 on Arizona PBS. Explore new ideas and new worlds here on Arizona PBS, a community service of Arizona State University.
I love Frontline. I think the things they do are always surprising, controversial, but controversial in the best possible way, meaning subjects people are afraid to touch. I think for me it was opening my mind to things I would not have been exposed to ordinarily. I love independent lens, stuff you're not going to find anywhere else. It's the kind of stuff you turn on late at night and you're so happy you watched it. And you think, I'm so changed because of this program. And that's something that only PBS can do.
Coming up next on Arizona PBS, Life and World.
PBS Online. Share, tweet, watch.
Coming soon to Arizona PBS.
I'm Chef Mark Tarbell. Join me for Check Please Arizona. This week our guests have dined all over the valley. At Taqueria El Chino in Phoenix.
The food is authentic, it's a fun place to go, and it's inexpensive.
The Thumb in Scottsdale.
Once I knew it was inside the restaurant, I just kept coming back.
And at Elements at Sanctuary Resort in Paradise Valley.
Great food and great views.
Don't miss Check Please Arizona, Thursday night at 7, right here on Arizona PBS.
Support for Arizona PBS comes from viewers like you and from
Friendship Village Tempe, a retirement community for over 30 years, offers independent living with residency options, lifelong learning classes, as well as continuing care. Information at friendshipvillageaz.com.
Greg Lawson Images of the Earthly Experience have been renewing and transforming interior spaces for 50 years. Artwork designed to energize your visual space can be viewed at Greg Lawson Galleries in Sedona or online at greglawson.com.
From the Cronkite Studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Separating families at the border. Why is it happening and should it be stopped? Today, some Arizona elected officials are taking a stand.
Hundreds of thousands of Arizona kids face hunger each day. Ahead, while milking cows at Chase Field could inspire more of us to donate to those less fortunate.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Victoria Valenzuela.
And I'm Raneem Hamed. Thank you for joining us.
A group of activists in southern Arizona are banding together to demand change at the border. Reporter Nicole Hernandez went to Tucson to speak with some of the community members involved.
Tears, anger, and compassion came from a group calling themselves the Free the Children Coalition. The Tucson group stands against the United States separating families at the border.
When you hear stories of thousands of children being separated from their families, you see photos from those places where children are being held in detention, you start to recognize that this is absolute insanity.
The group also strongly opposes the asylum changes made yesterday, saying that it does not reflect the country's foundations.
The right to political asylum is a right recognized worldwide. It is one of the fundamental principles of international law.
Asylum was never meant to alleviate all problems, even all serious problems that people face every day all over the world.
The Free the Children Coalition has a list of several demands asking for the humane treatment of people at the border, but U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions says the deterrents are a necessary measure.
But let's be clear, we have a goal, and that goal is to end the lawlessness that now exists in our immigration system. This Department of Justice is committed to using every available resource to achieve that goal.
Even though border relations are a national matter, Richard Elias says policies with the Sheriff's Office and public defenders should be changed.
There's a number of different policies like that I think we should affect, that we should start talking about now and demand change.
In Tucson, Nicole Hernandez, Cronkite News.
The Free the Children Coalition is hosting several events in the next week to begin pushing for the change that they want.
Lawmakers are expected to spend the next week or so voting on dozens of bills dealing with the opioid epidemic. In Washington, the House of Representatives is scheduled to vote on 39 bills this week and over 24 more next. Some of the legislation is aimed at stopping drugs like fentanyl from crossing the border. Others deal with how opioids are prescribed and treatment options for those addicted. Many of the measures do have bipartisan support and are expected to make it to the Senate. The opioid problem is expected to be a top issue for both Republicans and Democrats heading into the midterm elections. Cronkite News is dedicated to covering the opioid crisis in Arizona and nationwide. You can watch our documentary Hooked RX from prescription to addiction and find resources for getting help online at hookedrx.org. New technology appears to be working to lessen the amount of wrong-way drivers on the freeway. Since the beginning of the year, the Arizona Department of Transportation has detected more than 15 wrong-way drivers along I-17. The state invested $4 million into a thermal camera detection system along a specific stretch of the highway when a wrong-way driver is getting onto the road. A loud horn alerts the ADOT's Operations Center. The same alert travels immediately to DPS to get troopers to the station. Digital message boards on the freeway are immediately activated, notifying other drivers.
Having an instantaneous detection of a wrong-way vehicle, you're not waiting for 911 calls to come in from other drivers. It could be minutes before a 911 call comes in. The time savings are so important when it comes to responding to a potential wrong-way driver out there, someone who might enter the freeway.
This technology is the first in the nation. ADT hopes to expand and use wrong-way vehicle alert systems on other highways.
If you're getting out of town this summer to cool down, the Arizona Department of Transportation wants you to watch out for wildlife. Statistics show June is the second highest month for vehicles striking deer and other animals. Most of the crashes with deer or elk happen in the early morning or in the evening. The Arizona Game and Fish Department says the higher than average number of wildlife-related crashes in June is likely related to the beginning of monsoon season. This is a time when wildlife tend to travel more in search of water and food. The Department of Transportation has also issued a new safety campaign. The Pull Aside, Stay Alive campaign aims to keep drivers off the road during dust storms that the monsoon season brings. Turn off all car lights and wait until visibility is back before hitting the road again. The Arizona monsoon season officially begins on Friday. Cronkite News will have a special report to help you prepare for the next 3 months.
The U.S. unemployment rate is at an 18-year low and is under 4%, but the jobless rate for Native Americans is nearly 3 times higher. Cronkite News reporter Ariana Bustos in our Washington bureau caught up with experts on what needs to be done to lower unemployment rates on the reservations.
Melinda Andrews, executive advisor to the Hopi chairman, said she sees the impact unemployment has on her community.
Having a high unemployment rate, I can see all the detrimental effects that it's having to not only children, but to the families, grandparents, aunts, uncles. It's the entire family.
Harry Holzer, professor of public policy at Georgetown University, says while Native American unemployment is better, the numbers don't reflect the situation on reservations, where unemployment rates either remain stagnant or get worse.
It's going to be hard for the area overall to ever make progress when their best and most successful people are always moving away. And I would think that's maybe more true of Indian reservations than almost any other kind of geographic community in the country.
Andrews echoed that sentiment and said due to the 60% unemployment rate on the Hopi reservation, it's so hard to get a job that once you do, you have to stick with it. Algernon Austin, an economist at Demos, said underinvestment in Indian country doesn't make things better.
There's a long list of broken treaties, broken commitments, and I think that also goes into sort of the investment in economic development in the communities.
Chris James, president and CEO of the National Center for American Indian Enterprise Development, agreed that more should be done to invest in these communities.
How do we get our existing businesses to the next level,
but also how do we grow more businesses in Indian country to create the jobs, to have a strong economy, to support tribal leadership and support tribal programs as well.
Andrews said the people on reservations are living between two worlds.
So you're having to deal with traditional lifestyles versus going the Western lifestyle to get your bills paid, keep your electricity on, purchase food, that type of thing. Whereas way back when, we grew our own food.
Reporting from Washington, Ariana Bustos, Cronkite News.
A downtown real estate developer and the Goldwater Institute have sued the city of Phoenix for withholding documents from a study. The city has been considering renovations to the Talking Stick Resort Arena and hired a sports consultant group to conduct the study. A non-disclosure agreement was signed by the city and the Suns to keep the study findings private. Goldwater Institute attorney John Riches said the city must be aware that the documents from the study are of public interest.
Look, the Suns Arena is owned by the city. That's a government asset. And even though the Suns operate it, they have to understand that when you're dealing with a public asset that involves the expenditure of public funds, a lot of the information involved there has to be open to the public.
Both parties are awaiting the judge's official ruling on whether the documents from the $200,000 renovation study have to be shared with the public.
3 Tucson voters are attempting to have congressional candidate Ann Kirkpatrick barred from the primary ballot. They say she lied on her nominating petitions by listing 2 Tucson addresses as her own when she does not live in the area. There is no federal law that requires Kirkpatrick to live in the district. However, she is required to list her actual addresses on the nomination paperwork and petitions.
Thelda Williams is officially the mayor of Phoenix. It's been decided that she will hold the position until the special election in November. Greg Stanton resigned last month to run for Congress. This is the 3rd time Thelda Williams has been mayor. She held the post a short time both in 1994 and 2012 when Paul Johnson and Phil Gordon resigned. After being on the market for less than 2 months, Westgate has been sold. Billionaire Bob Parsons has bought the entertainment district in Glendale. The selling price was $133 million. Parsons released a statement today saying he feels the property has huge potential and has plans to create more development on the land near the University of Phoenix Stadium. The numbers are on the rise when it comes to women arming themselves.
Whether personal protection or hunting, women are buying more guns. Coming up on Cronkite News, how one instructor is focused on teaching more people to protect themselves.
Plus, see what the Arizona Diamondbacks are doing on the field that's a home run for needy families this summer.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles.
In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem. Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
Millions of people die every year from drinking dirty water. I would never have felt I had the ability to do something without ASU pushing me. We built filtration systems out of local materials with the people. To see those kids drink clean water for the first time, it's the most rewarding feeling that you can ever have. I went to ASU because I wanted to change the world. The thing I never would have expected is how the world would have changed me.
According to the Pew Research Center, it's estimated that there are around 300,000 guns owned in the United States. Not all of them are registered, and that's about one gun for every man, woman, and child. While men own the majority of firearms, statistics are growing for women. Across the country, it's estimated that 22% of women own a gun, and their average age for first owning a gun is 27 years old. The Pew Research Center reports about 50% of women in the United States have fired a gun.
1 in 5 active gun permits in Arizona are registered to women. Reporter Jordan Daphnis went to a women's gun class at Scottsdale Gun Club to see what's making women decide to own firearms.
According to the Arizona Department of Public Safety, the number of concealed weapon applications doubled from more than 50,000 in 2016 to more than 100,000 in 2017. Some of those new owners never thought they would buy a gun.
Early 2000, I received a phone call from a doctor, called me at work and told me I had cancer, and basically told me I had about a year and I needed to figure out and plan what I was going to do. So once I got through being hysterical, I did what I always did, and I went shopping. This time, instead of shoes, I came home with a Glock 19 and a Harley.
Trisha Dennett is not your average shooting instructor.
I didn't come into shooting until later. I was the ultimate prissy little girl, and my standard line is, you're going to see me fall off my tennis shoes at some point in class.
When she shot down her cancer diagnosis, Dennett locked and loaded her passion.
A year later, when I got through all of this crud and proved him wrong, I showed up at a range, and I happened to walk into a USPSA competition match and went, this looks really cool. I want to try this.
Now she's teaching women who want to try it themselves.
You're afraid of stuff that you don't know. So once you take this class, it becomes less fearful.
To Dennett, this class is about more than just guns.
My goal in teaching women how to shoot is not so much teaching them to shoot, is be self-aware. Know the situation that you're in, know how to handle yourself, and in the meantime, you learn a skill that can help protect you.
Dennett says owning a gun isn't the same as being trained to use it. Statistics show without training, it's more likely to be used against you by an attacker. In the broadcast center, Jordan Daphnis, Cronkite News.
Ahead on Cronkite News, Diamondback players spent the afternoon milking cows.
It sounds like an utterly ridiculous idea, but this stunt was about more than having fun. Up next, the special purpose behind the competition.
We're currently sitting at 108 degrees. Tomorrow will probably be up around 110, but stay tuned because later in the show, I'll have your full 7-day forecast.
This is my last broadcast as the anchor man of the CBS Evening News, and that's the way it is.
Carrying on the baton of those who came before us, our superb team of journalists, writers, reporters, editors, producers, work each and every week to tell the stories critical to you. For Arizona news that matters, tune into Cronkite News weeknights at 5 on Arizona PBS.
I'm Matt Berry, ESPN Sports Center anchor and graduate of ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. With its bachelor's and master's degrees in sports journalism, the Cronkite School is preparing the next generation of sports journalists to tell stories that matter, stories that excite, inspire, and inform. Cronkite immerses students in covering sports at all levels in one of the country's top sports markets. It's this hands-on experience under the guidance of award-winning sports media veterans that shape the top journalists of tomorrow.
By the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Before Professor Halden, I had an insane amount of passion, but I almost felt helpless because I didn't know how to use it. Professor Halden gave me a chance to make a difference. Being at a place like ASU allows you to take these big leaps. Ultimately, the biggest problems in the world cannot be solved alone.
I'm Ted Simons, host and managing editor of Arizona Horizon. Join us each weekday at 5:30 and 10 as we bring you the top newsmakers who impact the state. We cover the stories in depth that shape and affect our local communities, and we take the time to ensure that all voices are equally heard. For more than 30 years, Arizona Horizon has been your voice and your source for what matters most, right here on Arizona PBS.
New research shows many of our state forests are not bouncing back after devastating wildfires. Researchers from the University of Arizona found that years after a fire, much of the landscape is bone dry. Vegetation has grown back slower than expected due to our 21-year drought. Arizona, along with states across the West, has suffered record-breaking wildfires in the past decade. It happens every year. Dozens of people no longer want their pet turtles, and they head to the Phoenix Zoo.
The turtles are released into the pond at the zoo entrance. The Arizona Game and Fish Department then goes into the water and starts scooping out some of those turtles. This year, 22 were captured in the pond near the zoo's entrance, and meanwhile, 40 other turtles were captured at 2 other ponds within the zoo. Most of them are non-native. It's never a good idea to release a pet turtle into the wild. Instead, contact a turtle and tortoise preservation group, which will take in the pet and find it a new home. We're just a couple of days away from the monsoon season.
But before we get to any rain, we're dealing with 110-degree temperatures. Jordan Daphnis has our weather forecast.
Our high today was 109 degrees and sunny. Now, I do want to let you know that we're in the middle of an excessive heat warning. So you do want to be taking precautions, drinking lots of water and wearing light clothing, staying indoors if you can because it's very hot. Now, this evening, we're going to be at 108 right now at 5 p.m. At 8, we're going to be at 103 degrees. And this evening, we're really going to cool off to 82 degrees. It's not quite as cold as it has been the past few weeks, but we're still cooling down during the evening, which is very nice. Now, we're going to see some changes coming into this week. If you can make it through the next few days, we're going to see some rain possibly on Friday and going into Saturday. So that'll be a nice relief. We're going to hit 86 on Friday and have a low of 73 degrees. So super nice weather. And then we're going to climb back up throughout the weekend and going into next week. In the Weather Center, Jordan Daphnis.
Many children struggle with hunger over the summer.
With school out, they aren't getting those free meals. Food banks like St. Mary's are especially in need of milk. Today, the Arizona Diamondbacks teamed up with Shamrock Farms to hold a milk-off. D-backs infielder Nick Ahmed and pitcher Andrew Chaffin faced off to see who could get more milk from the cows at Chase Field. The real winner was St. Mary's Food Bank, which received 96,000 servings of milk.
You know, milk's a very important component for food banks. The average folks who go to food banks get about a gallon of milk a year. It's a very hard commodity for us to get our hands on. So working with Shamrock and working with the Diamondbacks to help, especially during the summer months when kids are out of school.
For each ounce the players milked, Shamrock will donate an additional 300 servings of milk. It's been a few years since Arizona has seen a pro sports championship.
The Mercury did it back in 2014. Ahead on Cronkite News, the Coyotes didn't make the playoffs this season, but that didn't stop some Arizonans from celebrating this year's Stanley Cup.
I like working for Cronkite News because it gives us the opportunity to find a different angle on the same stories that every other news outlet is covering across Arizona. As students, we have the opportunity to cover issues in all across the state of Arizona.
It gives me a good chance to sharpen my skills, improve my skills, learn the techniques in a newsroom and in the programs and teamwork and technology, getting me prepared for the real world. And at the same time, I think we do a great job, make some great stories, do great journalism for the city of Phoenix and the state of Arizona.
Join us each week on Catalyst, the show that explores new advancements, technologies, and innovations at Arizona State University that are shaping the future for tomorrow and beyond. Catalyst, Wednesdays at 9, right here on Arizona PBS.
I'm Ted Simons, host and managing editor of Arizona Horizon. Join us each weekday at 5:30 and 10 as we bring you the top newsmakers who impact the state. We cover the stories in depth that shape and affect our local communities, and we take the time to ensure that all voices are equally heard. For more than 30 years, Arizona Horizon has been your voice and your source for what matters most, right here on Arizona PBS.
If you're looking for one show that tells you what happened that day in the world of business, it's NBR.
We saw a classic shipwreck.
Nordstrom's opening stores.
Triple-digit gains.
Crude climbs.
We're there to help our audience find new investment ideas.
The market still has room to go up.
Nightly Business Report is the longest-running business television program in history.
Weeknights at 10:30 on Arizona PBS.
Officially from 36, and he hooks it in. Arizona State wins. Heaving one deep, and it is caught. Jalen Strong. Do you believe
it? If you called an office in Washington this morning and didn't get a prompt response, there could be a good reason.
Much of official Washington, along with some Arizona natives, were out on the streets today to celebrate the Washington's Capitals' Stanley Cup victory. Danny Coble has the story from our Washington bureau.
While the sky was blue, there was a sea of red on Constitution Avenue here by the National Mall.
Go Caps!
After 44 years in the National Hockey League, the Washington Capitals have brought home their first Stanley Cup. A decades-long wait that may explain the enthusiasm here today.
Oh, this is awesome. Like, honestly, this is awesome. I'm seriously hoping that we got like 700,000 fans.
There may not have been that many, but there were easily tens of thousands gathered along the 10-block parade route and packing the National Mall where a stage was set up. Not all of those celebrating were DC natives. Some transplanted Arizonans turned out to cheer on a win for their newly adopted home team.
After moving to DC from Arizona 4 years ago, decided, hey, why not? Everybody else is here, and got to see a championship parade. It's not going to happen in DC for a while, or hasn't happened for a while, so figured get involved.
The last time a DC team won a national title win was in 1992, when the Washington Redskins won Super Bowl 26. 6 years later, the Capitals were in the Stanley Cup, but were swept by the Detroit Red Wings the last time the Caps were in the Cup. Arizona State University alum Martin Montefano has lived in D.C. for 18 years, and while he is proud to be a former Sun Devil, he is even more proud to be a Capitals fan.
Longtime fan. It's awesome that ASU now has Division I hockey, and it's even better now that the Washington Capitals are the 2018 Stanley Cup champions. This was really great.
Finally, after all those years later, these fans can now finally celebrate that Stanley Cup win. Reporting from National Mall in Washington, Danny Coble, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, development is increasing competition for scarce groundwater in the New River area and the legalities of the nearly 1,500 immigrant children lost by the U.S. government.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the next NewsHour. Full analysis of President Trump's historic summit with North Korea's Kim Jong-un. That's Tuesday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thank you for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
declared their rights to the freedom of body,
You might see people making love on the street corner.
the pursuit of joy,
It was like arriving in Wonderland.
and the expansion of consciousness.
We really thought that drugs were going to change the world.
But something happened to San Francisco's hippie invasion.
It got ugly, and the original people that went out there for peace and love left.
The Summer of Love on American Experience.
Tonight at 8 on Arizona PBS. Explore new ideas and new worlds here on Arizona PBS, a community service of Arizona State University.
Arizona PBS deeply appreciates every gift we receive, and we are proud to honor our Executive Society. These supporters believe in the mission of public television and are making a real impact in our community. If you would like to join the Executive Society, please call the number below or log on to azpbs.org to join. Thank you.
Coming up next on Arizona PBS, Life and World.
Hello, I'm Paula Kerger, President and CEO of PBS. We know that you have many choices on TV, and I just want to say thank you for choosing to watch Arizona PBS. In addition to offering the best of our national content, from the PBS NewsHour to PBS Kids, your station presents exceptional programs that focus on the issues important to your family and your community. As we look to the future, we promise that we will continue to offer content that educates, inspires, and entertains. Thank you so much for your support of Arizona PBS.
Coming soon to Arizona PBS.
Coming up on Arizona Collectibles.
I don't think you could ever recreate this. It's a one of a kind.
President Gerald Ford owned this chair.
But look how beautiful it is. You are really lucky to own this piece.
Thursday night at 7:30 on Arizona PBS.
Support for Arizona PBS comes from viewers like you and from
Arizona Highways Magazine is for people who strive to enjoy and are inspired by Arizona's unique outdoor experience, rich history, and diverse culture. Subscription information at arizonahighways.com/PBS.
Like you, we get up and go to work every day. We're on the job, keeping you connected at home, at work, and to what matters most. Others count on you, so you can count on us. We're here restoring power quickly when storms hit, even fixing issues before they happen. We're making solar more reliable, investing in battery storage, and constantly updating the grid. We're here working 24/7, keeping Arizona on.
Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, local foreign affairs experts talk about President Trump's meeting with the leader of North Korea. Also tonight, folks in New River are worried about the impact of new development on groundwater resources and the legalities of the immigrant children reportedly lost by the U.S. government. Those stories and more next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible with the support of Arizona Highways Magazine, Escape, Explore, Experience, and by APS, working 24/7 to keep Arizona on, and by the contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Congressional candidate Ann Kirkpatrick is facing a lawsuit that challenges her run for Arizona's 2nd congressional district. The suit claims that Kirkpatrick doesn't live in that southern Arizona district and that her actual address is in Phoenix, which, according to the suit, wasn't included on nominating petitions and paperwork. Kirkpatrick's campaign describes the lawsuit as baseless and funded by a political rival. GoDaddy founder Bob Parsons is the new owner of Westgate in Glendale. Parsons purchased the entertainment district for $133 million. The announcement comes not long after the NFL announced that nearby University of Phoenix Stadium will host the 2023 Super Bowl. Parsons' development team promises a new vision for Westgate, adding that Parsons, quote, doesn't do anything small. Yesterday's historic summit between President Trump and the leader of North Korea continues to raise questions as to what the meeting actually accomplished. President Trump and Kim Jong-un exchanged handshakes and later signed a document in which North Korea pledged to suspend the testing of nuclear weapons while the U.S. put military exercises with South Korea on hold.
Only a person that dislikes Donald Trump would say that I've agreed to make a big commitment. Sure, I've agreed to take a period of time and come here and meet, and that's good. But I think it's great for us and as a country, and I think it's good for them.
And joining us now to talk about the summit and where U.S. relations with North Korea go from here, Philip Jones, a former CIA intelligence analyst and now dean of the College of Security and Intelligence at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. And Sheldon Simon, professor emeritus at ASU School of Politics and Global Studies. Good to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, your thoughts on all this?
Well, it's very, very interesting. I think that I think Kim Jong-un really lucked out on this. I think he made the greater progress. I think he got what he really wanted, which was a meeting with the U.S. president. Certainly the suspension of the war games is a very major issue. The South Koreans didn't know about it. The Japanese are not going to be happy at all about this. And the Pentagon has just now released a statement saying, no, our commitments to you guys are ironclad. So this kind of thing really gets people worried in the region.
Again, the administration says, President Trump basically said that North Korea gave a, quote, firm and unwavering commitment to complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, and thus war games are suspended with the South. You buying that?
I am not. In fact, if you look at what the two sides mean by denuclearization, the North Korean definition is totally 180 degrees away from the American. For example, Secretary of State Pompeo just a few days ago said that denuclearization of the peninsula means that North Korea will have to engage in irreversible, verifiable, nuclear weapon, ballistic missile, chemical, and biological weapon disarmament. That was within the last week.
Yeah.
North Korea never talks about its own disarmament. Whenever it talks about nuclear disarmament, it refers exclusively to the United States.
It refers to the Korean Peninsula, correct? I mean, that's their idea. The Korean, in other words, get the U.S. out of the South.
That's exactly right. And the way the North Koreans look at it, what denuclearization means to them, and they've said this many times and under previous North Korean administrations, is that what we want to do is guarantee our security. We want to guarantee that the United States will not launch major weapons against us. And if and when that happens, we will consider responding in some way, if and when that happens.
You know, I didn't see anything as far as verification. I didn't see anything as far as timetable. I didn't see any details here at all. Are we all just missing this?
Well, I think the idea is that Trump would go and meet him, and you know, Trump's diplomacy is gut diplomacy. If he felt that Kim Jong-un was really serious, then perhaps the teams could all get together and work through what are extremely complicated issues. And I think it was probably more for television than it was for you know, real diplomacy. The only thing that, you know, I have to wonder about is, are we seeing, in fact, something a little bit new on the North Korean side? Granted, we have a history of agreements that have been violated, but by both sides, actually. We never actually built the
light water reactors.
The reactors that the light water reactors we have promised to. I think that maybe with this gentleman who, you know, was educated in Switzerland, and his sister seems to be really smart, I think they've realized that you know, the world has changed in such a way with social media, with the internet, that the effort to keep information from leaking in is not going to work.
The president says he's very confident that this is going to happen, and it's going to happen very quickly. This seems like it's a victory, in his eye, for personal diplomacy. Is this a new paradigm?
For Trump, it's the paradigm he's followed throughout his whole life. What he wants, as I read him, is personal adulation from everybody. If he doesn't get it, he reacts negatively toward the individuals with whom he's dealing. And politically, he's concerned about what his base supports. If you take those two things, it accounts for 95+% of what Donald Trump does. Now, one of the interesting things about dealing with the denuclearization of the North is that it's much more complex, as Dr. Jones indicated, than, for example, the Iranian deal that took over 2 years to negotiate. North Korea has 141 sites within the North that contain weapons of mass destruction or that engage in manufacturing those weapons. It is estimated that we don't have enough specialists on disarmament monitoring in the whole world to be able to look at 141 sites and neutralize them.
And yet the president, the administration, the president's supporters will say that this is a positive step. The two sides are talking. Peace could possibly break out all over.
Well, I think we all agree that it's better to talk than fight. But, you know, we sort of have to be from Missouri on this one. You know, show me the money. Let's see what really comes out of it. I mean, the other big difference between Iran and North Korea is that Iran they have not completed a program. They don't have nuclear weapons.
That's, yes,
yeah,
and North Korea has obviously well over 141, as you mentioned. Okay, real quickly, last question. Does this make you more optimistic about the Korean Peninsula?
It doesn't really, but, you know, to finish my earlier comment, I think that maybe these younger leaders now in North Korea may be looking for a China option. In other words, find ways to stay in power, but try to improve their economy. And if that's true, then maybe something could work. Maybe something could open up. It might be interesting change.
Optimistic?
To follow up what Dr. Jones has said, the North, just as it stopped its ballistic missile tests and said that it is no longer going to engage in nuclear weapons tests, said that, this is what Kim Jong-un said, we are now going to focus on the economic development of the North, so that our security is now guaranteed. We have ballistic missiles that can hit the United States, and we have nuclear weapons that can hit in a variety of different places. Not only that, but we have the conventional weapon capability to wipe out South Korea, and we have the capability to launch regular missiles against Japan. So, what President Trump wants, presumably, is peace on the peninsula. He can get peace on the peninsula. Just sign a peace treaty, withdraw U.S. forces, and we'll have peace on the peninsula.
All right, if that ever happens, you'll be the first person I call. Trust me on that one. It's good to have you both here. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Up next on Arizona Horizon, water issues in New River.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickenburg.
Live in Los Angeles. In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem.
Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
Residents in New River and Desert Hills, those are north of Phoenix, are worried about the impact of development on the area's water resources. A new source for water has been developed, but current residents would like for that new water to be restricted to existing homeowners. The story is part of Elemental, Covering Sustainability, which is a collaboration between public television and radio stations. And joining us now is KJZZ reporter Brett Jaspers, who's been on this particular New River story, and boy, have you ever. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
This is, okay, New River and Desert Hills are, when you're driving to Flagstaff and Prescott and Sedona, you know where they are.
When you pass Anthem and you pass all of that shopping that's up there, it's just past, those communities just past Anthem on I-17.
So what's the concern here? Development is increasing as it is everywhere, but now, but there's a water concern that was fixed, and then there were concerns about the fix.
Well, to back up a little bit, the city of Phoenix have these hydrants within the city, and haulers, people were trucking water to these communities, New River and Desert Hills, from these hydrants. Well, the city of Phoenix, last year said, we need to stop that for many reasons. One of it, which being, they couldn't guarantee the quality of the water, the potability of the water. And so residents up there who were getting this hauled water were going to be stuck with much higher bills for their water because they have to go to Scottsdale or Peoria or some other location. So EPCOR, it's a utility, it kind of came in, negotiated a deal with Anthem for a piece of property to lease, and they're going to build a standpipe, and that's scheduled to come online by the end of July.
What's a standpipe?
A standpipe is it's a hydrant, it's a source, it's a tap into the EPCOR water supply.
So that comes online, all is good in New River, no.
Well, as they were talking, and it's been several months of back and forth about, are they going to have this standpipe? Are they not going to have this standpipe? Are they going to get an extension from Phoenix? All these back and forth discussions. People were saying, the big problem here is development. The big problem here is too many people are building homes. And New River specifically has gained like 40% of the population increase since 2010. So what the residents floated as an idea, I was at a meeting last fall, and this one resident stood up and floated this idea, saying, how about if you're going to use the new standpipe, this new water tap, that this is only for people who live there and have had homes built before January 1st, 2018. So that's a way to say this solution is just for people who've lived here already, and if you're new, then you're gonna have to pay more for your water. You're gonna have to go to Scottsdale or Peoria to a tap farther away.
And now, was this amended in the land lease?
It's so EPCOR, the utility, has a contract with Anthem to lease this, parcel of property in order to build this tap, and it's in that lease. It's in that contract.
Is that legal?
Well, I talked to a land use attorney, and she said, she wasn't as worried about the legality as the practicality of enforcing something like that. So, the EPCOR, the utility, says, it'll be on residents to let us know where the water's going. So they're going to enforce it if they hear that there's, somebody getting water that isn't allowed to get the water by this contract.
And how is that going to be enforced? Someone has to stand there and watch each and every water hauler?
Well, you would think, that you'd have to A, know which houses were built after January 1st, 2018, and B, kind of be there when the water is being developed. But I got to say that reporting up there, the people who live up in New River, they're very independent-minded, but they're also, they have a community up there. They've been through a lot in the last year with this water crisis, so they have been developing a lot of relationships, I think it's fair to say. And so, the gentleman from EPCOR who I interviewed said, I'm not worried about hearing about problems because the people up there are very vigilant in kind of making sure things are fair.
I would imagine so. I imagine there's a stubborn nature to those folks saying, "Don't you mess with that standpipe."
Well, it's an unincorporated part of Maricopa County. It's a place that people go to because they want to kind of get a little bit free of the city, less people.
Well, with that in mind, the impact of all this, and you wrote about this as well, and reported on this as well for KJZZ. Arizona property rights, subdivisions and such. It's going crazy up there.
Well, again, because it's a place where independent types like to go. Arizona is a private property state in terms of they have stronger private property rights here than maybe in states back east. So there's a lot of leeway that a developer or a resident who wants to build a house might have. And so another kind of issue that's happening up there is, people are saying, bigger plots of land, let's say a 10-acre parcel of land is being divided into more parcels than are allowed under the subdivision. They're being divided in such a way that they're creating a subdivision, but doing it without having to follow the subdivision rules.
Is it 5, 6? How
so in unincorporated parts of Maricopa County and in parts of Arizona that aren't municipalities, a subdivision is 6 lots or more.
Okay.
So one particular neighborhood that I've ever reporting on, there's a 10-acre parcel of property up there that, when you look at early surveys, there's a survey where they divide, a 5-acre parcel and another 5-acre parcel, and each of those parcels are divided into one.
Oh my goodness.
1-acre parcels individually. So you got like potentially 10 houses, right? Well, that would be a subdivision, but if you do it in such a way where different LLCs are the ones building it, then you can maybe avoid detection.
So last question here regarding this entire story, because you did the water story, the property rights angle of all this. What did you learn about all this?
Well, it's an interesting question. I learned that people are, there is a real desire to live in a more rustic area. I mean, a lot of the folks up there that live up there have animals and raise animals, and they want the quiet, and they don't mind kind of a wild animal, or they don't mind maintaining their own roads. But at the same time, they want things to be done fairly, and so that's the tussle. Is like, well, if the law says one thing and then in practicality something else is allowed to happen, we're opposed to that. And so I guess I learned that just because you want to have an independent life doesn't mean you want to have no rules.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Brett Jaspers, KJZZ, great work. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
We want to hear from you. Submit your questions, comments, and concerns via email at arizonahorizon@asu.edu.
The federal government has placed thousands of unaccompanied immigrant children in the homes of sponsors, but last year, nearly 1,500 of those children could not be accounted for. Vanessa Ruiz sits down with immigration attorney Salvador Macias to discuss the legalities of the situation.
There's an important backstory here, some context that we should give this issue. For that, we've invited here today immigration attorney Salvador Macias. He's with the law offices of Ray Ibarra Maldonado in Phoenix. Thank you, Salvador, for joining us.
Thank you, Vanessa. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, as I mentioned, there is a backstory here that we should talk about. I think there was a lot of outcry. We saw that initially when people first heard about what had occurred, almost 1,500 children missing. Yeah. But what can you tell us? Because there are many layers to this particular situation.
Correct. I completely agree with you. I remember seeing my news feeds completely bombarded by news stories about these missing 1,500 students, even children. And even I was completely taken aback. What do you mean? Who are these children? As you read and as I clicked on the articles, I realized that it was a population that I knew fairly well. I used to work with the Florence Project here in Arizona, and this is exactly the demographic that we used to work with. Now, these unaccompanied minors, that's who these 1,475 children are, came to the United States without their parents. And they didn't just come here since the beginning of Trump's administration. This has been going on for decades. And it's been layered and layered with this policy of catch and release. It's been layered with a lot of the crime and persecution that many of them experienced in South America. I know a couple years back, there were a couple news stories talking about this flood of young immigrant children coming to the border. Well, this is exactly the population we were talking about.
Let me ask you something real quick here, Salvador. We understand that this is something that we've been seeing. This is not new since Attorney General Jeff Sessions made the announcement in terms of shifting policy, right? Within the Trump administration, he said that they would be separating children and their families. But what you're saying is this is not new. We saw this throughout the Obama administration, even through George W. Bush's administration, yes. Correct?
So the Attorney General made this announcement a month ago. These children, and this report stems back from 2017, and unaccompanied minors have been coming to the United States for, again, decades. Doesn't matter if you're a Democratic president, didn't matter if you were a Republican president. It's something that that our country does face. And children have been separated by their parents, from their parents for multiple years now.
So what are some of the reasons that, let's say, these children or minors are nowhere to be found?
Okay, so when an unaccompanied minor comes to the United States, that means that they didn't come with a parent, they didn't come with a family member, enter the United States. The United States has a policy not to put them in adult detention, and I think most of the general public will understand the reasons for that. You don't want to place a child in danger. So these children are then referred to the Department of Human and Health Services, specifically the Office of Refugee
Resettlement.
Resettlement. That's it. That's what it is. And then are placed in with third-party organizations like Southwest Key. If these children are lucky, there might be a family member in the United States that they could go to. Mind you, there's a strong vetting process. There's background checks, and after the Office of the ORR confirms that these are people that they can go to, that's when the children go. Now, ORR implemented a voluntary policy that after 30 days of the child going to wherever they were going, they'd follow up just to see if there were any other questions. The 1,475 come from people that didn't answer the phone. Now, as Americans, I know that sometimes I look at my phone and I see a number that I don't recognize and I don't pick up. So that might be one of the reasons. The other reason might be that the sponsor themselves aren't documented and they're afraid of contacting the government. And that's, I think, in my opinion, the biggest problem. There's just this constant fear all across the country for people that are even part of a process to follow the process through.
So, okay, so again, many layers to the story. Now, what do you say, though, to those who argue, well, if you don't want to run the risk now of being separated from your child or children, then don't try to cross the border illegally?
And I would say to them, that's easier said than done, especially when you are being attacked, when you are being raped, when you are being mugged, when you are being attacked by MS-13. I mean, regardless of what party you align yourself with, the MS-13 seems to be this huge criminal organization that everyone should be terrified of. Imagine living in a country that's run by them. I can't blame parents for wanting to come to the United States with their children. Would you leave your children behind? It's one of those things that it's a humanitarian issue.
So once they're here, let's say, and they do try to cross and they are separated, what legal options, if any, do these families have?
Unlike the rest of the law and due process in our country, immigrants aren't afforded an attorney. Taxpayers don't pay for that, but that means that a lot of these indigenous communities, potential clients, they don't have the money to hire an attorney, which means that they're navigating a very complex immigration system completely by themselves. And although they have claims for asylum purposes, a lot of them never actually get their day in court completely because they don't understand what's going on.
And I mean, where do you find your child, let's say, for example? I mean, how does a mother or a father go through that process?
They don't know. They are, especially after April, the implementation of the zero tolerance policy. The parents are put in criminal matters. I know I saw an image of a court in Texas where they're doing mass trials. That means you have 20 to 30 people, and the judge wants you to speak in unison that you're guilty. So there's a problem with due process there. And we talk about being a nation of laws. Why aren't we following them?
Where do you see this issue, Salvador, going from here?
I personally don't think it's going to diminish. If fear alone of being separated with their family would work, many of these families wouldn't come. The reality is the fear that they're facing at home is a lot stronger and a lot worse. And when you're faced between an option of seeing your child die or potentially being separated but giving your child the opportunity to succeed, it's a no-brainer what choice parents are going to take.
Well, certainly it's a complicated issue. Immigration attorney Salvador Macias with the Law Office of Ray Barra Maldonado here in Phoenix. Thank you so much for joining us and
thank you so much.
Giving us some insight into this situation.
Thank you for having me.
That interview was recorded about a week ago, and we should note that just yesterday, Vanessa delivered a healthy baby girl. So congratulations to Vanessa and family. Wednesday on Arizona Horizon, election season is here, and we will have debates on all the major races. We start Wednesday with a clean election-sponsored debate between Democratic candidates for Superintendent of Public Instruction. That's Wednesday right here on Arizona Horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible with the support of Arizona Highways Magazine, for people inspired to enjoy Arizona's unique outdoor experience, and by APS, working 24/7 to keep Arizona on. Support for Arizona PBS comes from viewers like you and from
Arizona Highways Magazine is for people who strive to enjoy and are inspired by Arizona's unique outdoor experience, rich history, and diverse culture. Subscription information at arizonahighways.com/PBS.
Like you, we get up and go to work every day. We're on the job, keeping you connected at home, at work, and to what matters most. Others count on you, so you can count on us. We're here restoring power quickly when storms hit, even fixing issues before they happen. We're making solar more reliable, investing in battery storage, and constantly updating the grid. We're here working 24/7, keeping Arizona on.
Released from prison.
Some people think being on parole is you're free.
Frontline examines how one state is trying to change the way parole works.
The parole system needs to be completely reimagined.
And whether it's making a difference.
My life is pretty much ruined for the next 3 years.
Tonight at 9 on Arizona PBS. Explore new ideas and new worlds here on Arizona PBS, a community service of Arizona State University. Coming up next on Arizona PBS, Life and World.
PBS Online. Share, tweet, watch.
Support for Arizona PBS comes from viewers like you and from
The Persian Room. Travel to another world, to a land of exotic aromas and period decor for a fine dining experience. The Persian Room in North Scottsdale on Scottsdale Road, one light north of Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard. Gourmet exotic cuisine at its best.
Guaranteed Dental Solutions, providing full mouth rehabs using dental implant technology. Full restoration available with on-site dental labs. Guaranteed Dental Solutions offers you choices in Ahwatukee and Desert Ridge.
Good evening, I'm Judy Woodruff. On the NewsHour tonight, a historic meeting with ambitious goals and elaborate stagecraft, but with few details. We break down the statement following President Trump's summit with North Korea's Kim Jong-un. And we get reaction from two key senators on the Foreign Relations Committee, as well as former State Department officials. Plus, the HIV epidemic is reaching dangerous levels in Russia. Why some say the government will be forced to act if it doesn't do more soon.
Something very bad should happen. After that, everybody will stand up and just go and do something.
All that and more on tonight's PBS NewsHour.
Major funding for the PBS NewsHour has been provided by
Knowledge. It's where innovation begins. It's what leads us to discovery and motivates us to succeed. It's why we ask the tough questions and what leads us to the answers. At Leidos, we're standing behind those working to improve the world's health, safety, and efficiency. Leidos.
Kevin. Kevin.
Kevin.
Advice for life. Life well planned. Learn more at RaymondJames.com.
Consumer Cellular. with the ongoing support of these institutions. This program was made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
President Trump and North Korea's Chairman Kim Jong-un are now long gone from Singapore after a whirlwind summit that set lofty goals but provided few specifics on how to achieve them. Late this afternoon, early morning in Pyongyang, a North Korean news agency issued statements from Leader Kim. He said the summit had produced a, quote, radical switch in the relationship, and he called for practical measures to follow through on issues at an early date. From Singapore, Foreign Affairs correspondent Nick Schifrin again begins our coverage.
For decades, the leader of one of the world's most isolated and repressive regimes has wanted this handshake. And with the U.S.-North Korean flag side by side, President Trump greeted Kim Jong-un with the trappings of pomp and prestige and started a process he predicted would end decades of atomic antagonism. Just 5 months ago, the two men taunted each other by touting the sizes of their nuclear arsenals. Today, they spent 5 hours together, and President Trump predicted this was the start of a beautiful friendship.
It's my honor, and we will have a terrific relationship, I have no doubt.
We overcame all kinds of skepticism and speculations about this summit, and I believe this is a good prelude for peace.
Thank you very much.
After an expanded bilateral meeting of the two sides' senior aides,
Getting a good picture, everybody, so we look nice and handsome and thin.
And a working lunch of short-rib crispy pork and braised cod,
Okay.
the two signed a joint statement that President Trump and Kim Jong-un said would transform their relationship.
Today, we had a historic meeting and decided to leave the past behind.
In the statement, the U.S. pledges security guarantees to the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or DPRK, and Kim Jong-un reaffirmed his firm and unwavering commitment to complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. The document is more of an outline than a roadmap. Both sides pledged, without specifics, to establish new relations, seek peace on the peninsula, work toward complete denuclearization, and recover POW MIA remains from the Korean War.
The past does not have to define the future. Yesterday's conflict does not have to be tomorrow's war.
For months, the administration said it would demand the North Korean nuclear program dismantle completely, verifiably, and irreversibly. But today's agreement does not require North Korea to do anything specific. And for the first time, President Trump admitted instant denuclearization was impossible.
It does take a long time to, pull off complete denuclearization. It takes a long time.
But what President Trump wants quickly, the end of joint U.S.-South Korean military exercises. For decades, the military has described these drills as defensive and symbols of support for South Korea. But President Trump called them inappropriate and expensive war games.
We fly in bombers from Guam. 6.5 hours, that's a long time for these big, massive planes to be flying to South Korea to practice and then drop bombs all over the place and then go back to Guam. I know a lot about airplanes. It's very expensive. And I think it's very provocative.
After Mr. Trump spoke, the South Korean military appeared to be surprised, releasing a statement that read in part, "We need to find out the exact meaning or intention behind his comments at this point." But South Korean President Moon Jae-in, whose diplomacy helped create the summit, was supportive, said his spokesman.
I congratulate and welcome the success of the historic North Korea-U.S. summit with a burning heart.
President Trump described how he one day wanted to lift sanctions on longtime adversary North Korea, and he envisioned an optimistic future for North Korea's tiny economy.
As an example, they have great beaches. You see that whenever they're exploding their cannons into the ocean, right? I said, boy, look at that. Wouldn't that make a great condo behind? And I explained, I said, instead of doing that, you could have the best hotels in the world right there. Think of it from a real estate perspective.
President Trump's positivity comes despite North Korea's long and brutal human rights record. North Korea is accused of starving its own people and creating widespread malnourishment. Kim is accused of killing his own uncle to consolidate power. But President Trump, who is more than twice Kim's age, suggested his rapport with the dictator could overcome decades of mistrust.
Well, he is very talented. Anybody that takes over a situation like he did at 26 years of age and is able to run it and run it tough. I don't say he was nice or I don't say anything about it. He ran it. Very few people at that age, you can take 1 out of 10,000 probably couldn't do it.
Kim has never been exposed to this kind of environment as North Korea's leader. And at one point during the summit, he said it felt so foreign, it was like a science fiction movie. But Judy, the fact is he leaves this summit with very real achievements. Not only the prestige of meeting with the President of the United States, but also the President's announcement that major military exercises would freeze.
So, Nick, what about the joint agreement? Is it fair to say the North Koreans got what they wanted out of that as well?
Yeah, that's certainly what the analysts that we are talking to are telling us, that the North Koreans did get what they want. And this is critical because this is about what happens next. So when Kim left North Korea, the press releases that came out of the North Korean media said that the priorities were in this order. 1, improve relations with the U.S. 2, gain peace on the peninsula. And 3, and only 3, denuclearization. That's the exact order from the joint statement. Improve relations, peace on the peninsula, and denuclearization. And that's a flip from what the U.S. is usually willing to do. The U.S. usually says denuclearize first, and then we can talk about the other things. And so by allowing that flip, the U.S. effectively is accepting the North